May I have your attention, please? If you have not done so at this time, please silence all cell phones and pagers, and please sign in. Thank you.
Good morning. This meeting of the Louisiana Tax Commission is hereby called to order. This meeting is being held at the offices of the Louisiana Tax Commission at 1051 North 3rd Street, Suite 225, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The date is Wednesday, May 2nd, 2018, and the time is 10:03 a.m. Please call the roll.
Chairman Shahardy.
Here.
Commissioner Wagaspat.
Here.
Commissioner West.
Present.
Commissioner Vercher.
Here.
Commissioner Wood.
Here.
5 present and a quorum.
Thank you. At this time, I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes of the April 25th, 2018 meeting.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
A second.
Commissioner Vercher is absent. Commissioner Wagaspat.
Yes.
Commissioner Wood.
Yes.
Commissioner West.
Yes.
And Chairman Shahardy.
Yes. We'll now consider the decision of the appeal of Connecticut Partners, LLC versus the Cameron Parish Board of Review, docket number 17-22023-001. We have a motion regarding a decision in that matter.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion on that matter. With respect to Connecticut Partners LLC / Connecticut Gator Energy LLC versus the Cameron Parish Board of Review, docket number 17-22023-001. My motion would be to set the personal property fair market value at $5,153,933.
I would second that.
Commissioner Vercher.
Yes.
Commissioner Wagaspat.
Yes.
Commissioner Wood.
Yes.
Commissioner West.
Yes.
And Chairman Shahardy was absent.
Thank you. We'll now move on to the appeal docket this morning.
Testify, come on up and we'll swear you in. And then after I administer the oath, these people are familiar with it. You state your name and say, I do.
Into the microphone.
So if you would please, do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
George Wallace, I do.
Jeff Crosby, I do.
Lisa Ross, Orleans Parish Assessor's Office, I do.
Jawad Garib, I do.
Thomas Sandoz, Orleans Parish Assessor's Office, I do.
Thank you. It is the Tax Commission's policy to accept all documents into the record that were timely pre-filed in accordance with the Commission's rules and regulations. This will be done at the conclusion of all hearings on today's docket. Accordingly, there is no need to formally offer or introduce the exhibits into the record during your appeal hearing. However, if you intend to object to the submission of any of the opposing parties' exhibits, you must notify the Commission at the start of your appeal hearing. As a reminder, this is an administrative hearing, and as such, the rules of evidence are relaxed. The Commission is inclined to review and consider all evidence submitted and to accept such evidence into the record. Several of the appeals on today's docket have either been settled or withdrawn. We have 2 remaining appeals that we will hear this morning. The first matter is the appeal of Jawad Garib versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 17-22177-024. I would ask the parties involved in that appeal to please come forward and sit at the table. All right, good morning. This is a taxpayer appeal, so I will assume Mr. Garib, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, if you pull the microphone a little bit closer to you so we can
Yes,
make sure
sir.
we hear you. State your name for the record and please go ahead and explain your appeal.
Jawad Garib, owner of 8807 South Claiborne Avenue. This is a mixed commercial building, and I'm appealing the tax on by the city of New Orleans.
Okay. You're requesting a value of $240,000 on your property, is that correct?
Yes, but I would agree with the appraisal report and the value of the appraisal.
Of the commission staff
yeah,
appraisal?
Yeah, Mr. Wallace, yes, sir.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about your property?
Okay, so the property is a mix, commercial or residential. The first floor, it's commercial. It has a laundromat, a vacant space, and then another space, 750 square feet. I've just recently, about a year ago, I've rented it. On the second floor, there's 3 apartments. The third floor is an attic. It's a vacant. There's nothing in there. What we had, my property suffered considerable damage because of the construction we had in front of my property by the Sewage and Water Board to put a canal right in front of me. It's probably about 20 feet away from my property. I have submitted, document to Mr. Wallace that shows the damage that was done because of that construction to this property. There is actually probably about 100 claimants, against the Sewage and Water Board for the damage that was done to all these property on South Claiborne, and my property is one of them. The construction lasted since 2012, and they just recently, just this past summer, it ended. I've appealed my tax once before. Mr. Wallace did come in and appraised the value back in January 2015. The city, I agreed with the city on a value then, and then right after that, 4 months later, they jacked it up back to the same thing, to the same, and I actually last year I paid the full amount. I just couldn't take it anymore. The city is not reasonable. They don't see what I tell them. Everybody knows this. Actually, yesterday I just had an email from the attorney that they settled 5 cases now on the construction. So the settlement on this damages on these properties, and mine is one of them. They're just settling them right now. All I ask.
What was the value in January 2015 that you settled on?
I am not sure, but the value of the I can't recall.
Remember? Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. So all I ask is just the city to be reasonable and accept the appraisal of Mr. Wallace.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
sure. Any questions?
I did submit all the the documents that shows all the property damage. And, it's all with Mr.
Well, we
Wallace.
see you submitted a copy of the report by Gertler Brothers,
Yes, sir.
talking about the condition of the property. That was back in June of 2016. Have you made repairs to the property at all?
No, and this is based on the advice of the attorney, because it says preliminary report, because the damage is existing, and actually my building got worse since then, and repairing it right now would interfere with the lawsuit. When my case comes up, then they do a final report, and then they submit it. So
Yeah.
interfere, I wouldn't do anything till my
So
my
you're just
case-
doing just general maintenance to
Yeah,
keep
maintenance
the
so it
property
won't
afloat?
deteriorate. So if there is cracks and water coming into the building, I'm trying to seal that so it doesn't deteriorate, but actually
Okay.
it is.
All right.
I mean, I'm having so much problem. The front door, and I can show you a text message from my attendant, one of my places that I have is the laundromat. We couldn't close the door yesterday, and I told her leave it open because it won't close. The building has settled so much. I can show you a text message yesterday, late at night. I told her, okay, just leave it open.
Okay. All right, let's hear from the assessor's office. Is that conclusion?
Yes, sir,
Okay.
thank you.
Good morning. My name is Lisa Ross. I'm an appraiser with the Orleans Parish Assessor's Office. And we've been dealing with this building, it looks like, since 2014 for the 2015 tax year. Because of these damages that were caused by the construction that was going on in front of the building. And it actually looks like we settled for 15 and 16 at a value of $245. for those years. That was during the time of the construction. When I received the tax commission's appraisal, I did review it. I went out there. The construction is no longer happening, so I did somewhat agree with the appraisal. Excuse me, somewhat agree with the appraisal. And I know you guys are charged with doing the appraisal as of the lien date of 1/1/2015. However, with when we're dealing with damages, we ask that the taxpayers, we revisit that annually, because as you guys probably know, excuse me, if buildings are repaired, I'm not saying in your case, but if buildings are repaired, the taxpayer never comes back and says, hey, I fixed it, it's in good condition. So we just ask
Nobody
that,
ever comes and asks you to raise their assessment.
Right.
That
Yeah.
was
Right.
that was my 35-year
that's
experience.
absolutely.
Might not be much to base it on, but that's been my experience.
So it's kind of our policy in the office. I don't think it's a written policy, but based on damages, we ask that the damages are verified annually, so that we can make an adjustment. And so what I did, I reviewed, like I said, I reviewed the tax commission's appraisals. I did my own analysis. Since the construction is no longer happening in front of the building, I simply adjusted the cap rate a little bit, because the rents are actual rents that he has for the apartments and the and where Metro PCS is. And I adjusted the cap rate a little bit and came up with a value a little bit higher than where the tax commission is, and kind of offered that as a settlement, because I feel like it's fair.
What value did you come up with?
328.
328?
Yeah, well below the 450 or 425 that we have him at now, because he did send me an estimate, a repair estimate, I believe, from the insurance company, and we all know we can't reduce the value of the building to zero. So I could not, I couldn't really use that. So I just adjusted the cap rate a little bit for the increased traffic, and the construction's no longer there. The Metro PCS is now rented, so it's obviously in commerce.
What cap rate did you use?
I believe it was 8%.
Sometimes there's confusion, and it's not confusion on your part. People get confused between the valuation date and the condition of things. The property is valued based upon the value as of January 1st of 2016.
I understand that.
However, if the building is damaged, then from that value you would subtract whatever that damage is. And that appears to be what you're saying.
Correct.
You all tried.
And
tried
as
to
of
do.
as of 1/1/2015, we valued that building as when we settled, we valued it as damaged.
Yeah, because it's really not, the fact that the construction is over with may make the property more accessible, but the rents that are being charged are the rents that are being charged, and
Right.
and that kind of accounts for the damage condition of the property. In other words, if it's pristine, you might be able to get another $2 or $3 a square foot for it. Whereas if it's not pristine, you may not be able to get that much. Yes, sir.
May I say, in the appraisal, she said Metro PCS, she mentioned Metro PCS. That was included in the appraisal, so
Yeah.
that's added. The building is still damaged,
Right.
never changed, and the rent never increased. None of the income has increased.
I
It
understand.
stayed the same. The damage stayed the same. And I actually, 2016, I paid full taxes.
Sure.
They never, that 245 never stayed since then.
Yeah.
It changed right after that.
Okay.
They never considered
I
that.
understand. All
So
right.
so as I said, when we value a building as damaged, we ask that the taxpayer, I don't know if that was told, but we ask that the taxpayer, I always do, in some, say maybe June or July, if it's still in the same condition, present me with some evidence so that we can handle this before we get to this point. I'm not gonna say that I'm gonna remember this time next year to look at this property and say, oh my gosh, you know, 8807 was damaged, let me look at it and see if it's still damaged. I can't make that promise. So I asked the taxpayer, please come back and let me know. If it's still in that condition, we'll make the adjustment beforehand so that we don't have to go through this. And the reason I did make an adjustment on the cap rate, I left his rents what they were, was because in the tax commission, the staff appraisal, there was an adjustment made for the rent because of traffic. And I said, well, the rents are what they are. The rents are actually, I used the rents that George used in his appraisal, but the rents are actually a little bit higher than that, than what was used. So I said, well, I'm just going to adjust the cap rate a little bit. I don't think it's that big of a deal, that big of an increase, from 290 to 328, given the fact that the adjustment, an adjustment was made for low traffic.
But that is a pretty big increase from 245 to
Yes.
328,
Thank you.
being that the
Well-
property's still in the same condition.
Well, from 245 to 328, but like I said, I had no indication
You had no information
until
at the time,
yesterday
right, okay.
that the property was
But-
not.
But as you sit here today,
Repaired.
knowing what you know, nothing's changed or has been improved to this property, obviously because of the legal case that was still ongoing, and I think we all have read about it in the Advocate on
Right,
occasion about
right.
that case. So, so there's been no improvements to that property, correct?
Right.
So,
And I mean, the offer I got authorized to make was
Understand.
328.
okay,
So,
understand.
Yeah.
and
Mr. Wallace, want to tell us about your appraisal?
Yeah, good morning. My name's George Wallace, Louisiana Tax Commission, and I personally inspected the subject at 8807 South Claiborne on March 19th of 2018. The land value was uncontested, but based on the analysis of the vacant land comparables, it came in at $108,000. I also did an income approach and came in with the total value of $290,000, which would be $108,000 for the land and $182,000 for the improvements. The only comment I have on page 9 on my income approach, I did use the average rate was 7.6, but I did consider not just for the ongoing construction outside of the site, but it was more for the condition, and I came in at 9% on well, that was my going in cap rate. Came up with a total cap rate of 0.10849.
So you really only increased your cap rate by 1.4%, so it's not,
Yeah, whatever the difference is.
you went to 9%, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that's right. 7.6 to 9.
All right, do we have any questions? Motion?
I'm prepared to make a motion in the matter of Jawad Garib versus Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 17-22177-024. I would move that we accept the LTC staff appraisal land at $108,000, improvements $182,000 for a fair market value total $290,000.
Second it.
Commissioner Berger?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagstaff?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
Commissioner West?
Yes.
And Chairman Shaw.
Yes. Thank you all.
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, the next item on the agenda, on the docket this morning is the appeal of Narinda Gupta Retirement LLC versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 17-22176-034. It is my understanding we received an email late last night from the taxpayer representative, Mr. McHenry, which stated that he would not be attending the hearing this morning. That email will be entered into the record that we have. Also, we will enter into the record a copy of an email we received from Mr. McHenry. Sorry, a copy of the email that was sent to myself as well as some of the staff members, reiterating a conversation that Mr. Jeff Crosby had with Mr. McHenry, and we'll accept testimony on that conversation in a little bit. So anyway, all that will be entered into the record, as well as the documents submitted by the property owner and taxpayer in support of their value request. Taxpayer isn't here this morning, so I'll go ahead and ask the assessor's office to make their presentation. I want to ask real quickly, I see on our staff appraisal that the sales price of this property was listed at $100 with other good and valuable consideration. Did the assessor's office make an effort to find out, get a copy of the closing statement, or find out what the actual true sales price of the property was?
Good morning, Commissioners. Thomas Sandoz, Orleans Parish Assessor's Office. Chairman Shahardi, yes, we did in fact discover what the true sale price of the property was, despite what was listed in the act of sale.
I'm sorry, you said you did get a copy of the closing statement?
And we were able to discover it, yes, sir.
And how, what did you find out?
The sale price of the property was $1.4 million.
Okay. Well, that explains why they wouldn't give it to us.
Yes, sir.
And was that for property only? There were no furniture, fixtures, or any other assets?
No, ma'am, not to our knowledge. It was for real estate only.
And Mr. Sandoz, you said you got it by other means. How did you get it?
We were able to obtain the closing statement from the lender. And
how did you get it?
From the lender.
From the lender.
Oh.
And Mr. McHenry, if he were here, he would stipulate to that $1.4 million purchase price. I was never able to glean as to why he paid up $1.4 million for a property that's worth $600,000 allegedly. That information was never given to us. Basically, what happened was the subject property is a former daycare center on Louisiana, 1200 block of Louisiana Avenue. It had been exempt from ad valorem taxes as far as our records go back, which is 1995. The property sold and obviously came off of the exempt status, which triggers a reval 100% of the time in our office. We found out what the sale price was, and we all know how we feel about sales chasing and so on and so forth, so the assessor asked me to revalue it. I took the sale price into consideration. I did a cost approach on it and basically landed at about $70 a square foot for the building on a depreciated basis. Then you add that into the land value, and we came up with $1.3 million. The BOR did make an adjustment because it was discovered that our initial square footage of almost 12,000 square feet was overstated by quite a bit. As Mr. Wallace's report indicates, you know, the net rentable space is about 8,000 square feet. So I think what the BOR did was took our original building value at about $70 a square foot and then adjusted it to reflect the correct square footage. And that's where they came up with their value of just over $1 million. Since I'm under oath, I will tell you that there were several talks in terms of trying to settle this thing. It didn't happen for a variety of reasons, which I don't need to get into. But my assignment here today is to simply stipulate to whatever decision you all arrive at in terms of the value of this property.
But the value you're requesting is the board review value?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And all right. It was very disconcerting that the taxpayer would not, in fact, provide the closing statement to the commission.
That is
But you all,
We all understand why they didn't do
well,
it.
now we know.
Yeah, it's
Now
obvious.
we know. I mean, there may be a reason why the 1.4 million was paid.
But we don't know why.
But we don't know why.
Right.
Uh,
And like Commissioner Woods, we don't know if there was FF&E involved in that,
Right.
going concern, you know, because the property was operating as a daycare at the time of the purchase, to our
Mhm.
knowledge.
Yeah.
And not having them here to testify.
Yes, ma'am.
There's,
Yeah.
they can't put on any evidence, so we don't know.
That's correct.
Right.
So I guess what I'm saying is the sale price, even though we know what it is it valid since we don't know what actually went into the sale?
Right. Yeah, and the interest in the sales price is not because of us wanting to value it or you wanting to value it at the sales price simply on the basis that that was a sales price.
Correct.
It is more another piece of evidence that fits into doing a cost approach, market approach, income
Yes, sir.
approach, that sort of thing.
Yes, sir.
That just simply helps the appraiser in making his or her final
Right.
determination.
I will tell you, I was a fee appraiser for 20-something years. And I've been with the assessor's office almost 8 years now. And to this day, I still don't understand why people overpay or, because when I was a fee appraiser, you know, the value could never be high enough.
Oh,
But now you get into the assessment world, the value can never be low enough.
Right.
And it's always, you know, I overpaid, you know, I really wanted the property, so on and so forth. And my question is always, well, you know, if there's financing involved, there has to be an appraisal done, I would imagine, unless you're paying cash. So I've never been able to quantify that in my mind.
well,
So-
somebody somewhere, particularly when you're making this kind of commercial investment in commercial property, somebody somewhere, whether it's a formal appraisal or somebody, a CFO or someone,
Yes, sir.
had to have sat down, you would think,
To make-
and
yeah, to
looked
make a
at
lending
income and
decision.
expenses and
Right.
analyzed it and then capitalized the net income to come up with a value, because you just don't grab these kind of numbers out the air.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I think one of the taxpayers' arguments in my discussions with Mr. McHenry is that the property was a non-conforming use. And according to the current zoning, which is HURD1, the property could no longer continue as a daycare. So that grandfathered use went away, which is typical, you know, in when a zoning change happens. So I think that was part of his argument in terms of the value he requested, which I think was $650,000. Again, we still don't know why the purchase price was so much greater than that.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm here to say, you know, I don't know if that purchase price is actually valid. Is it a valid sale? Is it an arm's length transaction? We just don't know.
Would it give you more access to more market credits or rehab credits or something like that?
Possibly, and I think that's part of the redevelopment plan is to pursue, you know, tax credits in some way, shape, or form. It's a very old building.
But again, we don't know that.
We don't know.
Because they're not here to
And that's,
testify.
yeah, that's in the future anyway. So.
Yeah, okay. All right, Mr. Wallace?
Okay, I physically inspected this property on March 19th of 2018. The land value was uncontested, but based on an analysis of the vacant land comparables, came up with a value of $405,800. Based on the market approach, I had a total value of $654,000, which $405,800 was to the land, $248,000 to the improvements, and that's what I based my final estimated value on. The only comment I have is I didn't consider the sales price from the 2017 sale, and I did include on page 17 some excerpts from the Gertler Brothers report. The property is in need of a lot of work.
Mr. Chairman, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Sure, go ahead, Mr. Waxman.
Appeal of Narendra Gupta Retirement LLC versus Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 17-22176-034. My motion would be to uphold the Parish Board of Review value of the land $405,800, improvements $604,200, for a total of $1,010,000.
Second.
Commissioner Bercher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagstaff?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
Commissioner West?
Yes.
And Chairman Shahar?
Yes. Thank you all.
Thank you.
The Tax Commission hereby accepts all pre-filed documents and oral testimony into the record as Taxpayer Exhibit 1 in Globo, Assessor Exhibit 1 in Globo, and Tax Commission Staff Appraiser Exhibit 1 in Globo for each appeal hearing conducted today respectively. The next item on the agenda is consideration of change orders.
Tanisha Malvo on behalf of the Louisiana Tax Commission. Today, we have a total of 515 change orders. Staff has reviewed those change orders and requests that 461 be approved and place 54 under pending status.
I would move that we accept the staff recommendation to approve 461 change orders and place 54 on pending status.
Second.
Commissioner Vercher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagstaff?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
Commissioner West?
Yes.
And Chairman Shahar?
Yes. All right, there being no other matters to come before the commission at this time, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Vercher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagstaff?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
Commissioner West?
Yes.
And Chairman Shahar?
Yes.